What we're going to do now is we're going to get the racks ready to actually put on the smoker. And the main thing you need to do with a rack of baby back ribs, you probably need to do the same with spare ribs as well, is that on the back here, it might be kind of tough to see, but there's actually a bit of a sheen here. And this is a membrane that sits on the back part of the ribs here. Alright? And what we need to do is we need to get that membrane off. So what we're going to do is, I like to use a meat thermometer for this. So what you're going to do here is you're going to find a bone. What I like to do is I like to start in the middle here. And I'm just going to slide that underneath the membrane here along the bone. Okay? I'm going to slide it right along the bone there. And I'm going to pry up. So I get a little bit of space there. And once I have that, now I can get under there. And if you're lucky, it'll come off in one sheet, in one nice tear, if you get a really good chunk of it. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get my finger underneath here, so that way I don't have to peel off individual strings here. There we go. Okay, so now make sure you get all of it here. Get it all the way down the end. Get that little bit there. Okay. And now I'm going to pull this off right here. And you see the gloves actually, I find it makes it a little bit easier on me. If you're trying to do this barehanded, it's going to be really rough. This is really actually very, very slippery. Tough to get a grip on. Alright. So I'm going to get rid of that. Just slice off that a little bit right there. Okay. And we can just get rid of that. We don't need that. Okay. So now that sheen is gone, and what I've done is I've exposed the fat and the meat there. So now it's going to be much easier for the meat to take on the flavor of the rub. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our other rack here as well. So now what we need to do is we need to put a dry rub on here. So I've got two different rubs here that I made. And what I'm going to do on this rack here, okay, so I'm actually going to use this one. This is a sweeter one. This is my Dash Cunning rub, available at stbriansbarbecue.com. It's the traditional one, goes with everything. It's really awesome. But what I find is that some people that I make ribs for, they don't always like the spicier stuff, so they like it a little sweeter. So I actually have a sweeter one that I made here that I made with some sugar, some brown sugar. It's got salt, pepper, ancho chili powder, smoked paprika. You know, you can get a little creative with this. So I'm going to treat this rack here with this, and I'm just going to be pretty liberal with this. I like to be liberal with my spice rub. All right. Now I'm not rubbing, I'm not massaging it like I'm doing a shiatsu on it, but I am going to, make sure that the rub is sticking on there. Okay. All right. So we got that here. All right. And then I want to make sure I get it all over here. Okay. And I can roll it around in there and make sure I'm picking up all the extra stuff there. All right, now I'm going to get this side here. You do want to get the bone side as well. You don't necessarily have to be as liberal with the rub on this side. I do like to make sure I get on the underside where the meat is though, and get on the sides. Because you still have a lot of fat there, so you're not necessarily going to get a lot of penetration of flavor, but I want to make sure that I got this pretty amply covered, okay? So I got that. Now here's the other thing with this. With now you could just put this on your smoker as is. You'd probably be fine. If you're like me, my smoker is a little bit smaller, this would take up the entire rack. So it gives me two problems. The first problem is that it means I can only smoke this one rack of ribs, and today my goal is to smoke 3. The other challenge you run into is that I find that one end will always be much closer to the heat source than the other. And if that were my only choice, I'd put the thicker end down there, but it means that one end is going to smoke faster and it won't cook evenly. So the solution to that is to use a rib rack like this, okay? And then what you can do is conceivably you could stand it upright in this. You can smoke up to 6 racks all at once. Now again, my smoker's a little bit smaller, so I can't fit the rack across. I would recommend doing this. That way you can smoke a lot more. That way you still have room on your grill or on your smoker to keep on cooking. But what I like to do with mine, flip it over here, is I like to cut my racks in half. So I find about the halfway point, and I try to find, I see there's 2 different bones. I try to find that one bone that's in the middle, because they're all running on an angle. You can see like that. I'm going to take a sharp knife here and go right in between the bones. Divide that in half. And now I can smoke everything. And then what I'll do, again, I got a lot of rub on here. I'm going to make sure I get all sides of it. Alright? And then I'm going to do the same thing here with the small rack. I'm going to use a different rub on this one. I'm going to use my Dash Cutting rub on this. Get all nice rubbed up there. I love this rub. It's got a little sweetness, a little spiciness to it. Really perks up the meat. The nice thing too is the salt. The other reason why you want to put a dry rub on anything is the salt is actually going to help tenderize the meat and help it retain moisture. When you're smoking, one of the big issues that you're going to run into while smoking is that you're using a very dry heat. So it's going to dry out the meat naturally. So what I like to do is put this on here because the salt will help retain that moisture and keep you from having just dry ribs. The other thing I like to do is I like to put a pan of water in the bottom of my smoker so that way it acts kind of like a water cooker and helps keep the air moist in the actual smoker. And again, with this guy here, I'm going to cut that guy right in half. I find a bone. Make sure I'm grabbing the same one because if you're looking at it straight, it'll look like this is where you got to go, but you can see two different bones there. So on an angle, and right down the middle, boom, and I'm just going to make sure that I get all the edges there. Okay, got that one there, and this one there. All right, and now our ribs are ready to smoke. So, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. You can always email me at thesaint@stbriansbarbecue.com, and be sure to check stbriansbarbecue.com for all your barbecue sauce and barbecue spice rub needs. Until next time, I'm Brian Wiggins.